All right, so I hit that button, which means in theory it'll come up here, and so now I'm talking to you, even though it doesn't look like I'm talking to you yet. YouTube definitely needs to, if they're going to be Twitch, which means they need to be Twitch. They need to get everything set up. They need to be on par with them. But they're not there yet. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Lore Reloaded. I haven't been able to upload stuff because of everything that's going on. Some of you have reached out to me. OnlyFans has suffered. COVID hit my kids' schools again, which completely just has destroyed, like, literally everything. So it's been something I've been trying to work with and work through. Thought I would do a live stream and talk to all you beautiful, wonderful people. And how we can talk about how dilithium doesn't burn at those levels, people. Open your eyes. Okay? Just understand. All right? So just recognize that just remember Starship number 6, okay? Like, you see all of those ships exploding, but Starship number 6 was still there. And then when you consider the dilithium, I don't know, I forget what those conspiracy theories were. I just thought it would be witty and people would see it. We are going to talk about the explosion with the dilithium. I'm actually going to be doing a video on it. You guys can hear me okay, right? I'm coming through all right? You know, it's interesting to me because of all the things people get upset about or complain about, the dilithium thing doesn't bother me. At least not yet. Maybe once they completely explain it, I'll think that it doesn't make any sense. For right now, it's possible that the dilithium could have been destroyed. And so I need to see how it happened. But there's a couple of things, and we'll go into that. Before that, Springtrap Star Wars fan says, that's a fun name, hey, what do you react to the Earth seceded from the Federation because they are better off without the Federation? How would I react to that? I think you asked me that. I don't think I responded to it. I think it was a very Starfleet thing to do. And then I think Earth becoming isolationist without the Federation is also a very Earth thing to do. The United Earth was always going to be a target as long as Starfleet was based there. And even without Starfleet there, without the Federation there, they're still getting constantly attacked. So it was a good point. And Starfleet becoming its own fleet, becoming mobile and not having a specific planet that it calls its own, makes a ton of sense. Especially if it's dangerous for whatever planet they would choose. So I don't have a problem with it. It makes sense. Dilithium burning is global warming, but dream for fossil fuels. I don't know if that's where they're going with it. I've never heard that. That's interesting. It's possible. I haven't heard that. But let me say this. So it is clearly explained. It is clearly explained what happens. By the way, thanks for supporting the channel. The only way I can keep the lights on is through support like that and through viewers like you. And I forget, either the warp drive had to be active or they had to be at warp. I think it was just the warp drive having to be active, but every ship that either had an active warp drive or was actively in warp exploded. Just gone. Now, that excludes a couple of things. This isn't on Twitch right now, no. I have a Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. I do more just me stuff. I like playing. I'm going to be doing some modeling and some Blender stuff there, if you're interested. But anyway, the ships exploding with it active means a couple of things. First off, any ship that didn't have its warp drive active for whatever reason was okay. It didn't explode. Star bases that don't use warp cores, Deep Space Nine, possibly Space Dock, they were fine. Once the ships exploded, just because the ships exploded Doesn't mean that dilithium isn't the best way to travel for the Alpha Quadrant still, right? It doesn't instantly mean that. For instance, if gas, all of a sudden, every car that was using gas exploded, like within an instant, and then it didn't happen again, gas would still be something that could be used to get people from A to B. So while there is a chance you would die, if it's the only way to travel, or it's one of the few ways you have to travel, then it is what it is. What's going on? Maura Kitty in the house. She does live streams. So is an awesome person. You guys should check her out. Also has a kitty she's raising money for. Maura, if you can send that to me via Twitter, that funding thing. Her cat is having to go through surgery, and she needs help for that. I'll share that live for people. So yeah, it still makes sense that they would continue to use dilithium because it's the only way they still have to travel. Now, people are going to come back and say, well, what about using other modes of travel, like the live streams, or not the live streams. What the hell is it? I don't know. There's other ways that they had to travel, or other theories they were doing. If you remember, like, what was it? 80% of the Federation is gone. So all of their scientists, Slipstream, thank you. Their scientists, their ability to research, in an instant, the live streams change. What's up, buddy? They want to see you. I don't think he feels well. My kitty has been sneezing all day. I don't know if he feels well. I might have to take him in. Not only did they lose the bulk of their ability to do research, but now they're all constantly under attack. So even if they have Slipstream, or they had the technology, they have absolutely no way to really get it onto the ships and effectively spread it. They're having to defend against pirates. They're having to defend against the Orion Andorian Syndic. Come on, buddy. You want on? The people want to see you. What's up, Cindy? Alex is a Trump supporter, says Timothy. Why do I care if Alex is a Trump supporter or not? That doesn't bother me either way. Do you think the burn would be related to the drifting away of the mirror universe? Maybe dilithium is connected between the two realities. It's weird that they bring it up. I think it's going to be important. I don't know that it's connected to the dilithium. I wouldn't be surprised. It may be more connected to the Section 31 thing. I thought the temporal stuff, that they could travel instantly and stuff, gets illegal, but desperate times call for desperate measures. People have brought this up. Let me say this. Starfleet at its height, or not at its height, but Starfleet at full strength, saying, all right, you know what? Temporal Accords, it's illegal to time travel. No one can do it. And then 90% or 80% of Starfleet is just gone, just destroyed. By the way, 117 people watching and only 18 likes. Hit that like button. Don't be scared of it. Starfleet diminished to 20% of the strength that it was. I could still see them following that law. I could still see them trying to enforce that law. That seems very Starfleet, honestly. Curious, but if you play Star Trek Online, what happens if mirror universe Tholian ships create an interphasic rift? I don't know. I've played Star Trek Online. That could cause the burn, I guess. Maybe that's what they're going to try to do. Adira is fixing a form of space travel she's never seen before. Adira has had over, 10 generations of experience, 10 lifetimes. Dax did stuff like that all the time. So, I mean, you can get upset about it if you want, but Dax did that all the time. By the way, Ryan Hugh, helping the channel, thank you so much. It's a metaphor for the idea of peak oil. I'm not convinced about that. Maybe, but it just doesn't seem. Alex, let me read that before I say it. Alex, for some reason, is getting very political. President Trump is the Captain Kirk in Star Trek 3. He turns certain death into a fighting chance for life as always. Alex, I love you, buddy, but does it rain in the world you are? Or does it do, like, lollipops? Because I love it, lollipops. Maybe it rains lollipops. Terrador, I wonder if the burn has to do with Burnham. It could. I hope not. They're really going in a very, very positive direction. And so I hope that it doesn't revert to what it was, you know? I honestly, again, the dilithium thing, I think they're going to explain as either eco-terrorism. I could see it as Mirror Universe. Something happening with the Mirror Universe. They're playing that up a little bit. Or it could be the time travel that they did. I wouldn't be surprised, and this would be really season 1 or season 2 Discovery, but I wouldn't be surprised if time travel was banned because of what Burnham and company did, and the explosion of the suit caused everybody to go to hell and back. I honestly. And it's interesting, because you'll notice one thing they go out of their way not to do. They don't give any theories. Anytime someone asks, what do you think the burn is? They always say, well, there's a lot of theories. They never tell you what those theories are, though. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that kind of weird? Frank Mars helping out the channel. Thank you so much, guys. I cannot keep the lights on without you guys doing this. And it has been a hellacious week. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Since they hinted at an origin point of the burn and Burnham's mother is still missing, I thought of that too. You know, I'll be honest with you. And this is my... Frank, I don't know why it didn't show yours. That's interesting. There it is. I think that the point is probably going to be at the planet. I wouldn't be surprised if the point wasn't where Burnham and the Discovery showed up. Or it would be at 50,000... not parsecs, what is it? 50,000 light years or whatever the hell it was from Earth, which is where Burnham sent the angel suit. Ryan says, if Star Trek Online is considered canon, it's not. Do you think they will bring up the giant Iconian gates in Romulan and Dominion space? Star Trek Online is not considered canon. They describe it as soft canon, which is to say that it exists until Discovery or another show says differently. The one thing I will say is that I know that the people at Discovery are working with the people at Star Trek Online, which is why we're seeing the Titan. Well, that's not the only reason, but it's why we're seeing things from Star Trek Online starting to show up. It's technically not canon, but if they're building off of what they see on Star Trek Online, and they seem to be doing that, I don't think they're tied to it, though. Burn caused by Control is a desperate move to ensure Discovery had no choice but to go back in time to stop it. I didn't think about that, Ars. What do you guys think? And again, 147 people watching, only 56 likes. Hit that like button. Don't be scared of it. That really helps me out. If for any reason if you don't want to give money or you can't, and that's fine. Don't ever give money you can't give or you don't want to. If you want to help, it's absolutely free. Hit that like button. Burn caused by Control as a desperate move to ensure Discovery had no choice. I don't hate that idea. What's going on, Terrence? It won't let you send the link in chat? Send it to james@lorereloaded.com, Moira. Send it to my email. Think we're going into Alachi and Discovery? I don't think so. What if... they need to let Control go. It's an alright concept. I didn't like it because it was Season 2 Discovery, and Season 2 Discovery is... They need to let that go. Control would be a bad step for them. That said, I'll say this. Even though I think Control would be a bad step for them, they might be able to do it well in Season 3. A video that'll be coming out a video that will be coming out that I think that I'm going to be doing is, with the exception of Lower Decks, I wonder if it doesn't take 2 seasons to make a great 3rd season. What's up, Frost? Hear me out here. Season 1 and Season 2 of The Next Generation sucked. Bad. But it built the characters up. It made the characters into actual people with their own wants, their own needs. I knew who Captain Picard was. I knew who Riker was because I slogged through 2 seasons of who they were. And so when I see Best of Both Worlds, I'm seeing people I care about, even if it was god-awful seasons that made me care about them. Deep Space Nine. First 2 seasons, really weak. Not as weak as TNG. Really weak. But we learned who Sisko was, that he wasn't your grandfather's captain. We saw how he dealt with other species. We saw him deal with basically near civil war every 3 episodes with Bajor. And we saw that he was an officer, but he had to go outside of the boundaries to get things done. And so when he can deal with it, that means something. If you guys get my reference. When he sits there and gives up everything he is, that means something. But that episode in the Pale Moonlight wouldn't have been as powerful without 2 seasons before it. Now, I know that's like season 5, but you guys get what I'm saying. Voyager is horrifically written. It's so inconsistent. That said, if you look at just the good writing and the times that they were just letting Captain Janeway be this just badass, because she is one. If they let her be it, they don't force it on her. It really means a lot in the later episodes. And even Enterprise. Enterprise had a really bad season 1. I think is this Indy Arc season 2, I think? In season 1, we learned a lot about Archer. He is a mass murderer, is one thing we learned about him. But we also learned that he was an explorer. I don't know if you guys remember the episode, but where he says, I always thought if we looked just past the next rock, it would be worth everything that happened. He didn't like being held back by the Vulcans. He really thought that Earth was ready. And he was an idealist. And so we learned in season 1 the type of person he is, so that when he steals basically the warp core from another species and makes it so it's going to take like a year or more for them to get home, if they ever got home at all, it shows what he had to become. So, I guess the question really is, did we have to go through season 1 and season 2, Discovery, to make season 3 matter as much? Like, Saru is a wise captain, but I wouldn't have thought that if it started at season 1. I maybe not have thought that. Mike Hendon, burn caused by rogue quantum tachyon pulse wave thingamajimmies and bad inertial dampeners. Mike Hendon, you nailed it, buddy. You nailed it. Cedric, Sisko punched out the Q. The only one. That's right. Zindi is season 3? Okay. But you guys get what I'm saying, right? I wonder if the first seasons, the character development that happens in the first seasons, if that was required, and if that maybe is something that had to be done. Now, that said, season 1 did not have to go the way that it went. It was absolutely, positively horrific. um, and toxic, both in front of and behind the camera. If we remove the toxicity from it and the attacking of specific peoples for what they believe, who they are, then it would have just been bad. But they didn't have to go the way they did. But if you remove that and the rest, which is still schlock, maybe it has to go there. I don't know. All that back to what we were talking about with the burn. The burn, in my opinion, again, I don't think it's a big deal. And it is possible they come up with a reasonable explanation for why the burn occurred. And so at that point, I think it's okay. The dilithium didn't explode outright. It was antimatter energy, not controlled. It means the computers did not detect the failure. Hacking of all systems. So here's the thing, and that's a good point. Because again, dilithium itself didn't explode. That is a misnomer. I'm saying it wrong at that point. It only exploded in active warp cores. I think it happened so quick that the computers wouldn't have picked it up. But it did explode in only active warp cores. Would you agree that the best Voyager episodes are also some of the best Trek episodes overall? Personally, I would not agree. There are some really good ones, though. I think there would be good ones that are in the top 10 episodes I like. What happened behind the camera in which show? Discovery, Axemen, Titan. By the way, for those watching, Mora? Kitty's cat is actually pretty hurt. He's going through some stuff. He has to have surgery or bad things happen. If you guys want to support or can, you can go to the PayPal listed right there. And because, animals shouldn't have to go through pain. Animals shouldn't have pain at all. Humans can. We deserve it. Animals don't. Perhaps the constants of the universe change, causing the cores to explode because of the mirror universe separation. People keep saying that. I'm not convinced. Oh, and that keeps coming up. So let's talk about that. A lot of people are saying, well, what happened to the Borg? What happened to the Romulans? The Borg and Romulans are the most well-known that don't use warp reactors that we're aware of. But they're not the only ones. There were a lot of species. Well, a lot. There were quite a few species that did not use warp. And so the problem is that we really don't know what's going on with those races. I don't know that they have to tell us. If I was writing it, I would. Because in theory, there's no reason that the Romulans shouldn't just own the Alpha Quadrant. And let's not be confused at this point. If the Borg survived, the Borg will own the universe. They will absolutely destroy the universe. Everybody will ultimately be Borg. There is no way they can be stopped at this point. Unless they were destroyed. Now, honestly, because of what happened, the Federation wouldn't know. They just don't have the resources to investigate what's going on with the Romulans. And so them not saying anything about it actually makes sense. But I think that it's something I wouldn't have left. Discovery is a holodeck program running on the Enterprise D. Nah, they wouldn't give a good ending like that. Someone said bruh, and it looks like when someone calls me a bro, or they say bruh, it's always going to be, not speaking to me. Bruh, if Discovery is in a holodeck program, I'll actually be furious. I mean, if you don't like good endings. I wasn't even a huge Enterprise fan, but the holodeck ending for the series pissed me off. I tell you, the worst ending, we came very, very close to having the worst ending you'd ever see, and it was by Stephen Ira Bear. I'll leave it up, see if you guys can guess. Can you guys tell me what the actual ending was going to be if Berman hadn't saved the day? Yes, Berman. Because there was a specific ending, and it would have ruined this series. It would have been the Evangelion ending of Star Trek. Even Star Trek, of DS9. Exactly. Show ends. Benny Russell finished filming the show. It would have been a television show written by Benny Russell. That is a cat's tail, by the way. Laura, I hope you and family are kicking A these days. The COVID hit the school, so it's been hard. Hi. Here, get on, buddy. You aren't feeling well either, I don't think. Hey, get on. Yeah, that would have been a horrible ending. Because not only, by the way, the Bear Pack, welcome. Thank you for becoming a legend, as they say. The, remember, the Enterprise was in the very first episode of Deep Space Nine. Which meant, not only was Deep Space Nine in canon, in universe, a TV show, but so was Star Trek The Next Generation. Now look, I know it's nerd, it could even be top tier cringe, but that would have ruined it for me. In universe, in canon, turning it into a TV show is a bad idea. Personally, I think Discovery has too many. You can do this, and We're in It Together talks. Literally has like 3 of them in every episode. I can see that. Wait, did they rewrite the character of Gene Roddenberry? They did not. That is vaporizing the fourth wall. I agree. Laura, what are your thoughts on the trailer for the next week's episode? Seems to be a sequel to the TNG episodes Unification 1 and 2. We don't have enough information. It seems interesting. I always get worried, and I think it's a little undeserved at this point, though they might prove me right eventually. I always get worried when I look at the trailers, because they always seem to be, they give me a season 1 feel, and I hate season 1. I would like the Federation to start rebuilding, though. I think that is a good idea. What did Matt say? What if the Romulans made an advanced AI, which they had to get rid of and that became the Borg? That seems like a very Star Trek Picard thing, not Discovery these times. There are Trek fans who think Enterprise is actually good, but suffered from network issues. Personally, I like what they were trying to do, but writing in the first 2 seasons is awful. You know, the more I go back, there are certain episodes I absolutely cannot stand, but the writing overall for Enterprise wasn't that bad, I don't think. It was very original spirit. You know, I just think it was a prequel, and that was just not good. I don't like how the technology doesn't imply enough limits or have any rules. It just feels like nonsense. Well, I mean, Johnny, in the early seasons of The Next Generation, in the early seasons, not DS9, in the early seasons of The Next Generation, you had the same thing too. The early seasons of The Next Generation, they had teleporters, they had transporters. Well, that's the same thing. They had replicators. They had all kinds of various technology that wasn't in the original series. They could literally do anything. And so the more that TNG went on, the more limits they started adding. Osaka Tano. Osaka? I don't think you're spelling that right. I love Tano, though. She's awesome. I personally believe Nitpicking Nerds theory, and Star Trek Discovery will address it. I don't know Nitpicking Nerds theory. I haven't seen Nitpicking Nerds videos in a little while. Medallion, not really. Not really what? Not really when it comes to The Next Generation? Absolutely. Really. When it came to... They had to break the technology. That's how much it sucked. If Romulans with ships join the Vulcans, would that not give the Vulcans, and thus the Federation, singularity cores? Unless it happened in the 2400s and the Romulans gave up singularity jobs. They haven't explained what happens with the Romulans. I think it would be very cool Honestly, and I could see so many people getting upset about this, a Starfleet Romulan alliance that made something new isn't a bad idea. What's going on, Maisie, P. Dawes? Isn't a bad idea for the way to this go. And I might write something like that. It would no longer be like Starfleet or the Federation, and people are going to get upset about that. But I think that it would make sense that Starfleet would bring the Romulans on board, and they'd probably do it through the Vulcans. And I would absolutely write that if I was a Discovery writer. Eventually. I would have an expansion of the Federation getting its bearings back again. But at the end of the day, I would probably bring the Romulans in. And we would have a Romulan Federation alliance, and it would be a new thing. How I'd do that, that'd be... I'm not sure how I'd write that, but that would be how it would go. What's up, Essex? There's multiple ways of travel without dilithium, Romulans, and so on. How is this show being taken seriously? See, Jake Sully, here's my thing. I appreciate the support. Thank you so much. And if you don't like what I'm about to say, I'll send it back to you. How does that make it bad? There are things that you can be critical of, even in Discovery Season 3. But why do they have to destroy all ways of travel? More yet, why are they required to say where the Romulans are? The Federation has been reduced. I said 20%. It may be less. They aren't worried about the Romulans, and the Romulans may not be messing with them, as far as they know. Why does it make it bad? I'm serious about that. You don't have to donate to tell me. Just do @LoreReloaded so that I'll see your name pop up. Why does that make it bad? I'm asking sincerely. Alex Bogey enjoying the lollipop rain in my U.S. Constitution hat by Beach in Georgia, since Gene R could not decanonize TOS. Disco Trek cannot decanonize DS9. Was the Dominion War an allegory for World War II? I don't completely understand what you just said. Enjoying the lollipop rain in my Constitution hat by the Beach in Georgia. Okay. Since Gene Roddenberry could not decanonize TOS. Okay. Did he want to decanonize the original series? Disco Trek cannot decanonize DS9. I don't think anything in Discovery has decanonized Deep Space Nine. There's been no attempts to do that, to my knowledge. Was the Dominion War an allegory for World War II? I think they took inspiration from World War II. You can see quite a few ways of the events. I don't know if it was an allegory for World War II, but they took it. Hi. You not feeling well, buddy? I'm sorry. By the way, if you guys see his response and I don't put it up, please let me know. Because I'm curious about that. What did it say that made it bad? I don't understand. Phaser cannons are canon, but canon are not cannons. That's true. That's true. Spitting out some facts right there. I think there was an interesting nod in the last couple of episodes to both Voyager and DS9. What would be the nods to Deep Space Nine? Not that I disagree, but what would be? How do you think warp drive hanged on till the 31st century? I would say it worked, is what I would say. Oh, the USS Nog. Yeah, the USS Nog would be a nod to Deep Space Nine. I didn't know if you meant something else. It just worked, and it was the easiest way to do it, so why would they move past it, you know? How long has gas existed? How long has gas existed for cars? 1886. So, are you gonna be okay? Is it? Are we gonna make this work? Why do you always do this in front of our friends? You're never loving in front of our friends. I don't mind, us being together, but I really wish that you weren't a voyeur about it. It's been 134 years, and we haven't come up with something better. We still use gas. So, Alex says I sent you the link a while ago. Okay. The entirety of technological advancement in the Star Trek universe is just a massive feedback loop with time travel that is nitpicking nerds' theory. The entirety of technological advancement. I'd have to see the video. I don't know that I believe that. There are rumors that an upcoming episode of Discovery will talk about the Vulcan-Romulan reunification, maybe to tie back into TNG. I could see that, though. And I wouldn't hate that. Oh, man, the channels. Oh, the Fandom Menace channels. That would go crazy on that. But that would make 100%. 100%. That has to happen for continuity to stay. If the Romulans still have power, even if they're fractured to hell because of what we see in Star Trek Picard, they would make a play for Vulcan. Now, first off, they would do it diplomatically, probably, trying. But they would take Vulcan by force if they had to. Vulcan is very, very important to the Romulans. And yeah, that's 100%. There's no reason for that not to happen. And I could see Starfleet getting pissed off about that. Like the new Starfleet saying, no, they're a member. What I mentioned is just one thing. Sorry, my issue is that it seems they write themselves into a corner. And I think I'm just frustrated because Michael is poorly written. Okay. I wasn't getting on to you, Jake. First off, Jake, you don't have to donate for me to respond. I appreciate the support. Thank you. But don't feel like you have to for me to respond to it. My question, Jake, is have you seen season 3? Season 3 is completely unlike season 1 and season 2. I would say season 3 is to Discovery season 1 and season 2 what the Dominion War is to TNG season 1 and season 2. It's different just with characters you know. Michael's still pretty badly written, but here's another question. I put this in my review. I sincerely wonder, I truly wonder in my own self, if this was season 1 and Michael was the XO and stayed the XO and took a lot of the stuff that she did, would I have issues with it? And I don't know, because I don't think she's going too far. With the exception of episode 1, which was ridiculous. But beyond that. Pete, I would definitely endorse watching season 3 so far. I feel like you have to watch season 2 to really appreciate season 3. I hate saying that, but I think that you have to watch season 2 to understand season 3. I'm personally sick of the Arrowverse level of waterworks every episode. Do they cry a lot? Maybe. I don't know. I haven't noticed that, I'll be honest. But that seems to make sense. Maisie helping out the channel. Detached nacelles, yay or nay. Also Saru giving Burnham a dressing down was excellent. Yeah, I love the fact that she gets like backhanded verbally, and the person's in the right to do it, and there's no defense. She gets what she deserves. And honestly, the last episode was basically the season 1, episode 1 done right. I actually liked Burnham. What Burnham said and did made sense. The response to what Burnham did made sense. Saru and the Admiral were in the right. So was Burnham. Wonderfully done. I thought this was going to be a horrible episode, by the way. It was actually pretty good. The detached nacelles, I don't have any issues because it's 31st century. I wish they'd kind of explain it. They were talking about, yeah, thank you so much for the support. They were talking about how it made it more maneuverable and stuff. That doesn't make any sense. But, I don't know. If the Scavengers episode was first episode of the whole series, I'd loved it. Also, I'm still going to dislike the visual canon being wrong. In the 31st century, the canon can look like this. I don't think, for me, I don't think you can really get upset about how it visually looks at that point. Because it could go that way, you know? 32nd. Yeah, I keep saying 31st. Anytime I say 31st, just assume it's 32nd. Hello, Father. My kids are with their mom. She has them every other weekend, so she has them this weekend. I think they're at their grandparents'. That's usually where they go. So they're having a good time. They enjoy it. Do transwarp corridors and transwarp networks use dilithium? To my knowledge, they don't. I think that was one of their big things, that they don't use that, and it's faster. What if the detached Oh, I'm missing it. What if the detached nacelles are the next logical development of the Intrepid class variable geometry warp nacelles? That'd be interesting. I could almost see that too. I think that'd be. I could almost see them going that way. The Romulans use an artificial quantum singularity for power as substitution for a warp core, not dilithium. Dilithium is used to regulate the energy. They probably also use dilithium for this purpose. No, they go out of their way. So here's the thing. They go out of their way to talk about how it's a different core, how it doesn't use dilithium. In TNG, it is very, very alien to the technology that they use. And so that is, unless it's retconned somewhere that I'm unaware of, TNG set the standard that they don't use anything near dilithium. It is completely different. Now, that said, TNG The Next Phase, I was actually going to say this, Dan. There are some ships that have warp cores. Specifically, the Dodera Dexes used quantum singularities, and I think the more advanced ship did too, the Valdor. I could be wrong on that, but I think the Dodera Dex and the Valdor. But we also saw the scout ships and the shuttles use dilithium. I feel the neutral zone is as close as we'll get. The neutral zone. For meeting the Romulans? Yeah, I don't even think it'll go that far. Angelo Caraba, this is definitely not Star Trek, it's garbage. Thank you for your videos. Well, I'm glad you like my videos, but now I'm going to push back on you, Angelo. Angelo, 2 questions. First question, have you seen Season 3? Now, that doesn't mean that you are wrong that it's garbage, but I do think that you're not going in there with all of the knowledge. So, have you seen Season 3? Whether you have or not, why is it garbage? Walk me through that, because I have yet to find someone who can tell me why Season 3 is not Trek and is garbage. Okay, so Memory Alpha, a wiki, which has errors in it that they won't remove, says that it states clearly that it uses a forced quantum singularity as its power source and still uses warp nacelles. Do warp nacelles require dilithium? And can you show me a episode where that is proven? And again, I'm going to push back on you that we see in multiple TNG episodes where they go out of their way to point out it's not the same warp core, it's not the same power source, it doesn't work the same way, completely alien. That is a cat behind me, yes. I don't think he feels all that well. I think Season 3 is Trek. It's just got bad writing. Well, I mean, they all have bad writing in it. But do you think all of Season 3 is bad writing? And why, I guess? Have you read any of the post-Nemesis Trek novels? Personally, it's what I wish current TV was based on. The Typhon Pact is what I've read. But beyond that, not really. Janeway did nothing wrong. Okay. Tuvix had it coming, yo. Do you think we will see an old Daniels? I don't. I wish we would. I think that'd be cool, but I don't. By the way, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. It is the only way I keep the lights on. But yeah, the only thing I've read is the Typhon Pact. I don't really read a lot of the novels. I mean, the Phoenix went to warp without dilithium, so that's a thing in canon. Did it go to warp without canon? Here, Solus fan, let me ask you this. Can you show me any TV series, any episode, or any movie that says it didn't have dilithium? Next, can you show me where it says that dilithium isn't required for Federation or even pre-Federation warp cores that aren't specifically, that are a part of the Federation or will become a part of the Federation? Can you do that? Because I don't even think Trek Yards can do it, and they've been pushing that pretty hard. If that's true about the Romulans, so live at the Love Shack. Don't yell, buddy. I'm right next to you. It's just you and me talking. You don't have to yell at me. If that's true about the Romulans, they should be ruling the galaxy. I think we've talked about that. They may be. We don't know. Maybe they are. Voyager J is captained by the EMH. That's just fact right there. That is. It's not. It's the CMH though, not the EMH. Or no. What is it? The emergency ECH. There we go. It's fine. I'm giving you a hard time, Love Shack. Where do you think the Enterprise is in Discovery Season 3, or do you think the burn killed it? They say that there was an old Constitution class. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the Enterprise. I don't know that they're going to show us a ship called the Enterprise, though. Well, they did in Season 1. They may. It didn't use dilithium. Mike Birch, I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked the other person. Can you please show me a episode or movie where it says that the Phoenix didn't use dilithium? Failing that, can you please show me where it says that warp capability is possible without dilithium from a species that joined the Federation? The original series had private property and religion as Scotty bought a boat and there was a chapel, while TNG had no private property. It became more socialist like Gene himself did. Of that, we agree, Alex. I completely... Not only was... Well, first off, the original series, while it did have religion in it, they kind of went out of their way to attack religion. They did that quite often. But they did have people who believed. And then in TNG and on, they just went... Well... In TNG, they went out of their way to attack religion. DS9 and Voyager did a lot better about that. Discovery, Picard, and Lower Decks don't really speak to it. Andrew Probert, the Derek Dex class bird. I don't care what Memory Alpha says. Let me say that. It's a good resource as a starting point. I actually will look at it when I do research, but you have to go to the series. You have to go to the movies. I like Memory Alpha, but it is not the be-all, end-all. They get it wrong, okay? They have stuff on there that is just wrong. It just is according to what we see. So, again... Memory Alpha is great, and it's a good starting point, but I do not... It's like, don't even just... If you see a video I do, don't trust me on it if you want exactly 100%. Go find the material yourself. I've gotten it wrong before, too. I've gotten it wrong twice. Twice. That's it. Everything else has always been right. What's going up? What's going on? Oh, yeah, gamers. Oh, yeah. Could the burn be Michael's fault when she destroyed the angel suit? Yeah, that's what I said. I wouldn't be surprised if the angel suit destruction did it. I hope not. I hope not. TNG Newground doesn't use dilithium. What? TNG Newground. Oh. Okay, yeah. So that ship with the wave and stuff, can you please show me where the Phoenix used a wave? I'd be... I mean, you got me technically. I will give that to you. That is a Federation ship that didn't use dilithium. You got me technically. Dilithium's a mineral, isn't it? I think. Why do I think Voyager's lineage continued? Well, I think because people have watched Voyager. But if you're talking about in canon, I think that ships that are... I think ships that have a legacy, generally, they continue to do them. Again, guys, don't take this wrong. I like Memory Alpha. I like the guys at Memory Alpha, or the person. I don't know. I don't know who they are personally, but I've talked to them on Twitter. Memory Alpha is a wonderful resource. It's just, if you're going to come at me with Memory Alpha, I'm going to ask where it is in the canon. Because Memory Alpha gets it wrong too, you know? Wesley Crusher proved warp without antimatter is possible in peak performance. And as dilithium causes matter and antimatter religion. That's fine. Is there a ship that does it? I'll go back and look at that, though, because that is interesting to me. And then the other piece, and they don't have dilithium on it. Before this entire theory, like in beta canon, it's not in canon. It's not alpha canon. It's not in an episode. But it was always theorized that dilithium hit Earth and he found it. That's like asking why ships in the United States Navy or Royal Navy are still named Revenge or Enterprise, etc. Wesley's experiment and peak performance only gave the Hathaway a couple of seconds of warp period. Did the Hathaway go to warp without dilithium? I'll have to rewatch it. If it did go to warp without, there was no dilithium on it, then that's fine. Then it would be possible for the Phoenix to have. I'm not even saying the Phoenix did. I'm not even saying the Phoenix did have dilithium. It's just Trek being Trek. It is inconsistent. I know you guys are going to be horrifically surprised to see that Trek, lo and behold, was inconsistent. Poe Dameron looks at the bridge of Voyager J in the ready room. It's perfect. Now all we need is a captain to command her. Brings a lot of memories on Voyager. Okay. The Hathaway had a few shards. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've ever seen it not. And again, I forget what the original argument on this was. I'm 100% on the Dilithium, unless you can show me an episode where they talk about it having dilithium, because TNG goes out of its way to talk about how it is completely different, how it looks nothing like a warp core. I get that they have nacelles. I get that. But things like, and I'm not going to come up with a good example, but I'm sure in real life there are things that look the same, like engines that look the same, but don't use the same kind of, and this is probably imperfect. I'm probably going to get shredded for this. But like a diesel engine and a gasoline engine don't use the same kind of fuel. I don't think. There's got to be something like that. There has to be a real life example where they have similar parts, but they don't use the same thing. There has to be. The Phoenix must have had something instead of dilithium. There is the theory that that dilithium just makes it easy, that you can do it without it. That's how they explain how shuttles go to warp. Diesel engines don't use spark plugs. Okay. But I mean, do they have something? Is there something a diesel engine and a gas engine have in common? Is there one part that they have in common? Because if there is, that's what I'm saying. The nacelles are to keep the design feeling Star Trek. Well, yeah, common parts. I mean, that's why they did it. But so common parts and Marvin Hugh, by the way. Stop writing for lazy things. By the way, welcome to The Lore Reloaded. That's what I do for a living. And if that's right, if they're both combustion engines, they just use different ways of doing it. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Starfleet warp core and a Dilithium singularity, they're engines, but they don't use the same thing to get there. And again, unless you can show me an episode or something, I'm not. I'll die on that hill for right now. It may seem silly. I just don't think they use dilithium. I'll die on that hill. Memory Alpha's wrong. Memory Alpha, people who run Memory Alpha or people who wrote that are welcome to come on. I think they're wrong. It's good helping out the channel. Thank you so much. What's your favorite Trek movie? Mine is 6. I'm a huge fan of First Contact, even though I eviscerated it and it was not as good as I remember. I like Undiscovered Country. I guess it depends on what you're looking for. I think Undiscovered Country is a lot better when it comes to allegory, when it comes to meaning. I think First Contact focuses more on the Trek universe, ironically. Yeah. Those are the two I really like. The other ones are all right. All right to bad. So the nacelles are more like wheels on a car. Yeah, Ryan, so here's the thing. Yeah, they've never gone out of their way to tell us how all of this works. And so the nacelles could be the stabilizers. And they don't even listen to it. Like Gene Roddenberry wrote, there was, for the longest time, there was a specific requirement on how warp worked. You had to have nacelles. They had to be right next to each other. They had to be perpendicular or be able to see each other, or however the hell that worked. There could only be 2, couldn't be 3. And then they stopped listening to that because they wanted to make ships that looked cool. But in theory, my understanding, and I'm getting a little tired, guys, so forgive me, but it keeps the warp bubble. And here's the thing. So there was a good video done by Anti-Tracker talking about warp drive, where he makes a convincing argument that the ship technically isn't moving. It creates a bubble and that moves. And that's why you couldn't ram a ship at warp into another ship. Because the dilation, the ship itself, is just surrounded by this bubble. Which kind of makes sense, because they create a warp bubble, at least in TNG. And so the nacelles would create that bubble. Let's not think too much about how the Federation lets a teenager possess antimatter, which is like letting a teenager own a nuke. Yeah, that's another thing. Dilithium is there to regulate the warp core. Engaging a warp without crystals would be like running an engine without oil. Okay. I mean, when it comes to Picard, I could actually do a convincing reason to not worry about Picard. If you remember, Picard is knocked down, hits a rock, and lays there for quite a few minutes in... it wasn't Insurrection. What was the one where he goes into Space Heaven with the ribbon? Anyway, that one. Everything that happens with Picard, we could assume is just the fever dream of a dying brain, which would explain why he doesn't actually bury Kirk. Generations. Yeah, why he doesn't bury Kirk, why the Federation never recovers the body. We could just assume that everything up to that point is just his pitched fever dream. And then you don't have to worry about Star Trek Picard. Written off. I emailed you a canon source about Romulan power. You emailed me, you say. You emailed me. In the Whoa! It's funny how I click on it, all of a sudden I get an alert. In the TNG episode Timescape, Deanna Troi uses her expertise from having served aboard a Romulan ship to help with an investigation. The Romulans are an artificial quantum singularity as their power source. Once it's activated, it can't be shut down. This shows the Romulans don't use dilithium as a power source. The funny thing is, she's explaining this to Geordi and Data. The transcript of the episode's here. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, but that was when I was referencing... I didn't know exactly, but I knew that was a conversation that happened. And then it wasn't just that. The one where the time is dilated and the Enterprise is destroyed and they get the wrong impression of what's going on with the Romulans. They talk about it there. They talk about how the singularity is so drastically different from what's going on with the warp core. And so yeah, and that's why I'm so... I guess this is why this is a hill I'll die on, because they go out of their way. I mean, TNG was as passionate about the warp core not being the same on its Deridex, the singularity being different, as Picard is about hating religion. It's night and day, and they go out of their way. Now, they did it on one-off episodes so that they could create an issue of the week, but still. I was always under the impression that warp core was just a giant power source, and possibly the only powerful enough to make warp happen. Not the only one powerful enough to make warp happen, I don't think, but it is just a giant power source. It's called a warp core because they're generally on ships, and that creates the warp bubble. But they're power reactors. Massive power reactors. Sisko is my favorite captain. I will say this: Lorca, before they destroyed him, is close to Sisko, though. I get a lot of hell for that. Not completely sure why. Lorca was a Kirk, Sisko, Picard mix of greatness until they ruined his character. Sisko's my number one, though. What's your favorite Captain Justin Baker? If that is even your real name. What's going on, Sean? The Phoenix didn't use dilithium based on a diagram for Star Trek 25 years. What episode? Jane Hyde. Jane Hyde? Or Jan Hyde? Sorry. No, it's Jane. Jane Hyde. What episode? Can you give me an episode or a movie? Lorca was great till he wasn't. I agree. I love Saru, too. I don't think he's on par with Sisko. Big fan of Saru. Yeah, Lorca is the Gul Dukat of the disco era. Lorca really is. How do you think the Dominion fared in the burn? They probably got tore up, too. My understanding is the Dominion used warp drives as well. So they're probably in the same. I hate Saru since last time. Why do you hate Saru? Saru's really good. Please show the live with... Oh, yeah. Yeah, show it. Hit that like button. Why does Starfleet... I'm Zachary. Thanks for supporting the channel. Are you asking why doesn't Starfleet have transwarp? So, here's the thing. I've had the theory that transwarp... They actually had it. And it's the new TNG warp drive. That's why the original series scales and TNG warp scales are different. Because the Excelsior trials eventually did work. Now, if you're talking about the transwarp, like what we see in Voyager and stuff, we talked about this earlier. I think that it's possible that they had quantum slipstream. I think it's possible that they had transwarp. But remember, 80% of the Federation, 80% of Starfleet is gone. Just bam, instantly gone in an instant. So even if they had those things, they don't have the ability, they don't have the manpower, they don't have the technology to retrofit all the remaining fleet. And beyond that, they're having to just survive. They're in, as was stated, triage. They don't have the luxury of using what they did. I don't think Michael is trans, though, no. Have you accepted Michael Burnham as your Lord and Savior? Man, if it was season 2, you'd need to if you were going to survive. I was back and forth with Dukat. Sometimes he was okay. I think Dukat was wonderful. He's one of the best villains up until they made him crazy because they didn't like the fact that people empathized with him. The USS Relativity could get to places in different times. The USS Relativity... The USS Relativity, I'm guessing, was decommissioned. You know, I'm sitting here talking about how we can't trust Memory Alpha, and now I'm about to go to Memory Alpha. It was a 29th century. Let's just take Memory Alpha's word at it for this time, for the sake of this conversation. 29th century vessel, so there's a good chance it was decommissioned, so they couldn't use it. We don't know if the burn was galaxy-wide or alpha and beta quadrants. I'm guessing galaxy-wide, but we don't know. Is it weird that I think Dukat's daughter Ziyal is hot? Cardassian women are crazy attractive, aren't they? It's just, yeah, they're crazy attractive. LOL, the irony. I mean, I can go look it up, Justice Ag. If you want to go look it up, we can go watch the video together. I'm new to your channel. Personally, I'm a bit of a social justice warrior, but I also don't like Burnham as a character. Does that make sense to you? Well, it's good. I understand what you're saying. For me, a social justice warrior is a pejorative. It means someone who pretends to care about social justice, or cares about it so much that it's toxic and they actually hurt what they're trying to help. If you mean you believe in social justice and you're left-leaning, progressive, or even a leftist, yeah, I don't think liking Michael is really based on your belief systems like that. I think you're more likely to like it as someone who leans heavily left, but there are people who are conservatives, lean right, who like her as well. I don't think it's based off of that. It comes down to the writing. For instance, I don't know how to say that. I'm being turned around on Michael in season 3. Season 3 Michael, I'm okay with. I hated the season 2 Michael and season 1 Michael. But that's because the writing for Michael was bad. The writing isn't as bad anymore. What's going on, Continuing Trek? This is also why they need Omega. The Omega particle. I thought it was the Omega particle. I got to be honest. I really did. It's not likely to be the Omega particle at this point, but I thought it was. And Emma Baker, you and me are exactly on the same page. The writing agree. Third season of Discovery has been a treat, but I'm afraid to trust. It's the same way. I think the way I put it is it feels like an old toxic abusive relationship, long-term relationship I was in, where you're treated really, really well. And then, you're hurt, and then they come back and treat you well again. Honestly, that's how it kind of feels. Omega did nothing wrong. That's true. New ground. Yeah, Momota. We haven't talked about that for like 15 minutes, Momota. But yes, I understand that the Soliton wave was technology, but they just constructed it and were testing it at that point. What's my second favorite ship class after the Acura? Yeah, I love the Acura. I'll live and die on that hill. If Discovery went Acura and they rewrote it that it was the Acura class in season 1 and season 2, I would pimp it like it's hot. I would be the worst We Are Starfleet channel you could ever find. I like the Intrepid a lot. I like the Defiant as well. The Sovereign's awesome, but I don't think it'd be my second favorite. For the people who hate Discovery, sorry, but Discovery created a new timeline. Without it, no series, guys. Created a new timeline. I don't know what you mean by that. It's in the same technical timeline. But we've had this discussion before. Now, I think we're getting to a point that Discovery is good, but I don't think that every series has to continue. I've never been... I've never been an advocate that, well, at least we got it. Stories have to end. They just do. And there will come a time, I think, that Star Trek has told all the stories it's going to tell. I don't think we're there yet. I think I've been proven wrong. I think there are still more stories in the Trek universe to tell. But everything that has a beginning has an ending. And so... at the end of the day, Star Trek will end, and that's not a bad thing. Sisko is my favorite captain because he's a loose cannon, like a certain unnamed politician. Okay. Why y'all want to be getting all political up in here? What is going on? Yeah, thank you for the support. Braxton altered the timeline when he crashed in the 60s. Same timeline, just changed and never fixed. Yeah, so the way you have to look at it is that every series going into itself doesn't necessarily always make a lot of sense. Just doesn't. But they just fit. And it's kind of one of those things where it's the way it happened, and it's the only way it happened, and it could not happen any other way. Because anytime that things deviate, even just a little, it goes to hell. I don't think Biden is loose cannon. No, I don't think he can be anything close to a loose cannon. You don't want my opinions on Biden. The worst possible option we could have, except for the other option. How will the Kelvin timeline handle the well probe, since Into Darkness has ensured that the OG events that led to Kirk time traveling have been altered? Will the well probe even show up? Talk to you later, Denzel. Thanks for coming by, buddy. Elise says, stop the politics, for Christ's sake. Now, to be fair, and I get it if it's not your cup of tea and it makes you leave, I'm open to talking about almost anything. I really think we're too divided anyway right now, so I don't want to get into it, but that doesn't mean I won't respond. TNG is kind of odd since the ship travels along the Alpha and Beta quadrant, but most of it is explored and controlled by the big powers already. That is true. How would you feel if Sisko popped out in the 32nd century? I would not be a fan of that. Are those Avantry headphones? You guys talk about the weirdest things, but yes, they are actually Avantry headphones. I don't hate it. This computer is about a year or two old, and I forgot to get Bluetooth with it, and so I had to get it for the dongle. I have to have a dongle, Avantry dongle. I don't know why the hell you guys ask me the questions you do, but I like it for the most part. Cisco appearing on Picard, I wouldn't have as much issue with. I don't think he should appear in... For some reason... Just the election beast. Oh, no, Alex, you're not going to drag me into that, buddy. You can go on Twitter to see my opinion of that. Yeah, people. What the hell was I even talking about? Cisco showing up on the 31st century. I wouldn't... Oh, here we go. For some reason, they're staying away from Deep Space Nine. They make references to Deep Space Nine. Very, very small references. They're very interested in Voyager. They're very interested in the Next Generation. But when it comes to like people from Deep Space Nine, they don't really seem interested. Talk to you later, Dahak. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, it is Spot. I don't think he feels well, though. Why are you wearing a headset if this is not a call-in show? Because you guys can actually leave tips, and it'll talk in my headset. And because sometimes it's all about the atmosphere too. When you guys are watching someone live stream, generally you're more comfortable, and it makes more sense for you to see the headset. In fact, here's something for you, boyos. Did you know VHS sets had great quality audio? But no one on God's green earth remembers that VHS sets had great quality audio. So if you're going to put a VHS set in and you're doing a movie with a VHS set, you have to have it have bad audio, like a shh thing. Shh. Because that's what people remember. Also, rain. You've never heard real rain in any movie. Rain does not do well. It's usually bacon or oil. Welcome behind the scenes, babies. There's no going back. Tilly, the lowest ranked officer in the ship, orders high rank officers around. She cries all the time. I love Tilly. Tilly's awesome. I don't think she orders others around. She may be like educated. Stamets is 2 ranks lower than the woman engineer and therefore not chief engineer. Stamets is a scientist. I don't know why he would be a chief engineer, so I'm not sure where that's coming from. Him being 2 ranks lower, I'm not sure why that's an issue either. So if you could walk me through that, bring me to speed. I'm not sure why those are issues. Sound effects, I called Foley, named after one of the first people to come up with sound effects for film. Yes, they are called Foleys. That is good. The Foley scream. Can I drag you if I give you more money? Can I drag... You want to drag me? Oh, into the conversation. I'd prefer not. No. So please don't give me money on that. Bacon sounds like rain. It does, actually. Anytime you've heard rain in a TV series or on a movie, more likely than not, you're listening to bacon. Sounds just like rain. You'd be so surprised. Kelpin barbecue at my place. All are invited. That is true. Characters like Tilly and Nog are what Wesley should have been. I can agree with that. All right. So far, we never actually saw Discovery's Warp Core. That's what I'm saying. I put that on Twitter. Are you putting that on Twitter because I put it on Twitter? Show us the Warp Core. Show us the Warp Core. I'd love to see what the Warp Core looks like. It just started raining here as we're talking. Well, hey, I called it. Would have Picard of anything else changed in the in-game timeline when Voyager arrived home 16 years later? Would have Picard or anything else change in that? I don't know. Would the in-game timeline include that? In the audio commentary for Braveheart, Mel Gibson said it is highly difficult for Rain to appear on... Yeah, I mean, Rain is interesting. Because it's hard to hear. Like, even when you take out sensitive stuff, it doesn't come off right. It's not what people expect to hear when they do Rain. And then when you're doing it, a lot of Rain that they're actually, when it's raining, you have to digitally add or digitally enhance. But, annoyingly, if it starts raining and you do it and the equipment is still okay... you can still see the effects of it. So you may not see the rain, but you'll see a spatter hit a person's thing. Rain is the devil. It really is. When it comes to filmmaking. Yeah. We know Picard is a synth now. They can easily resurrect him. And hopefully he dies and they let him go. My phone records Rain really well. Okay. I saw the full documentary of What We Left Behind and thought the pitch for S8 of DS9 was great. I did not like the pitch for Season 8. I did not like it at all. I gotta be honest with you. And What We Left Behind is 95% good, 5% retcon. They really rewrite history a couple of times. So, children, animals, and rain are the worst things to work with in the film industry. Yeah, I've never worked with kids yet. Hopefully don't. I'd be okay. I mean, the pitch... Yeah, the Season 8 pitch. You have the Bajorans raising an army of Jem'Hadar. Think about that. In Aliens, the scene with the facehuggers and Medlem had rain mixing in with sprinklers. Okay. They did kill Nog. Yep. I don't know. I should do a breakdown of that. So, Leo, you're only here for the kitty? That's fair. What if burn was caused by the Borg? I doubt it. It's possible. On that note, I do think I'm going to be ending as well, though. Think about the army of Jem'Hadar knocking on your door to tell you about the Prophet. Yeah, you wouldn't mess with them, would you? Guys, I'll answer this and I'll be on my way. Could the Federation have just stuck to warp drive because they advanced it to the point that it was just better than other FTL options? I think it was easier and they were too busy with other things. It's kind of like gas. We could probably come up with a better way to move instead of gas. It's just easier and it's cheaper. And I think that's what happened with them. I do. In Season 8, they kill Nog. In the Season 8 pitch. Guys, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for coming by. It was awesome having 240 of my best friends here. Thanks so much, and I'm going to see you on the next